Hello and welcome to Study with Sudhir. We are going to get started with Julius Caesar, one of the most prominent plays written by William Shakespeare. So, in this video, in this opening video, I'm going to tell you the story of Julius Caesar. What really happened, so that when you get an overview, it will become that much more easy for you to understand when I start explaining line by line in detail, giving you the background context as well as tell you character-wise and theme-wise analysis in great detail, along with my own explanation notes and detailed question and answers, MCQs, everything. Okay, now this is one of the actors who played Julius Caesar, quite a powerful face and character, as you can see. Now, let's get started. Now, as I said, this is one of Shakespeare's most celebrated biographies. Now, why is it called a biography? Because this was based on the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC, right? So in that sense, he has borrowed things from the past. It was first performed in 1599, that is, we are talking of over 400 years ago. And Shakespeare took the basic material for this play from a book which was published in 1579 by Plutarch called The Lives of Noble Greeks and Romans, which was basically biographies of famous men and women, right? So the basic material he took from this book published in 1579 and he performed it first in 1599, that is 20 years after that. Okay, understood. Now let's look at the principal characters in this particular play. First, of course, is Julius Caesar, who has just returned from triumphant battle against Pompey, and he comes home to a rapturous welcome in Rome. Okay, so he's the principal character. Mark Antony is Julius Caesar's close friend and companion. Marcus Brutus is a Roman noble who stabs Julius Caesar at the end. That is, there are many others who stab Julius Caesar, but he's the one who has this final stab, which is why Brutus is such an important character in the play. Cassius is the villain of the play who conspires to assassinate Julius Caesar. So, in that sense, he's the mastermind behind Julius Caesar's assassination. Calpurnia is the wife of Julius Caesar, who has a minor role in this particular play. Nevertheless, this is not a play where the female characters have a very large role, unlike many of other plays of William Shakespeare, like Merchant of Venice, which your seniors studied, where Portia had a major role. This is basically about these four male characters. Portia is the wife of Brutus, okay, who kills herself. Now let's understand what happens in the story. What happens is that the play starts with Julius Caesar marching back into Rome triumphant. He has defeated Pompey's army, so he comes back as a triumphant hero. Okay, at that point in time, a soothsayer predicts something. He says the 15th of March, which is known as the Ides of March, however you pronounce it, he says that you need to be wary about that particular day, that something wrong, something bad, something ill, some harm is going to come on you on that particular day, the 15th of March. Caesar goes, I am a hero, okay, I'm the best, right? So I have nothing to fear. So he dismisses the prediction, the prophecy made by this particular soothsayer. Soothsayer is essentially not an astrologer, but someone who predicts the future. Okay. At the same time, Cassius, who is the villain of the play, he's actually plotting Caesar's assassination. So what the soothsayer predicted was actually happening. It was being plotted at that particular point in time. Now, what did Cassius do, and why was Cassius plotting Julius Caesar's assassination? Because he thought that with so much of political clout and power in the hands of Julius Caesar, this could actually be potentially dangerous for all of them, because it would mean that Caesar would become so powerful that none of the others will have any power left with them, right? Everything would be centralized in Caesar's hands, right? So nobody wants to have that. They all want their share of the pie. They also want to be equally politically powerful, right? So they did not approve of that. They feared, they were apprehensive of such a development. So Cassius decided that it's best to get rid of Julius Caesar. So what he does is to manipulate Brutus. This is one of the actors who played Brutus, right? So he manipulates Brutus and others to join the conspiracy that you also get here. We will all get a share of the political power pie once Caesar is removed from the scene. Okay, so you see, this is how palace intrigue takes place. This is how palace conspiracies are hatched, right? Brutus, initially, he is not willing, but he reluctantly agrees in order to save Rome from a potential tyrant in the form of Caesar, because he also feels that Caesar could be a potential tyrant, that he could be someone with a lot of power with him, and that could be not very good for all the other nobles in Rome. So on the 15th of March, exactly the day that Soothsayer had predicted, Caesar has a sense of foreboding, maybe because it's playing on his mind that, array, he had said something bad would happen, some harm would come on me, that I need to be careful, I need to beware, right? So he has a sense of foreboding, right? That something is going to happen. California also tries to convince him that don't go out today. But Caesar thinks that if I do not go out, it would send the wrong message out, right? So he decides to go out. What happens when he goes out? At that time, this is the scene of Julius Caesar's assassination. The conspirators distract Mark Antony. Why? Because Mark Antony is Caesar's close friend and companion. So they distract him. And Casca is the first one to stab Caesar, and Brutus at the end. So they all stab. You see, he has a knife, he has a knife. This is Casca, this is Brutus. They all stab Caesar in order to kill him. And Caesar utters those famous words, et tu Brutus, that is, you too, Brutus, that I did not expect you to do that. You are someone I trusted. You are a friend, which is why in today's day and age, why is Julius Caesar still relevant? When someone you trust betrays your trust, does something which you do not expect him or her to do, you say, you too, Brutus, right? You call that person a Brutus because a Brutus is a person who you trust but deceives you at the end. So that's why this line is so very important, probably the most famous line. There is one more from Julius Caesar. Brutus, subsequently what happens? In Act 3, Brutus explains his action, that why did I do what I did? He says Caesar's death was for the good of Rome, that it's good that Caesar died because it is for the good of Rome that Caesar was killed, because he was ambitious and that was dangerous. His ambition was dangerous because he wanted to concentrate all the power in himself. So it was dangerous. His political ambition was very dangerous. So that's how he justifies the killing of Julius Caesar. Now, the public praises Brutus, the public. And this is an important part of the play, because what happens in this scene pretty much happens in today's day and age. Because when you are a great and a powerful orator, you can sway the people who are listening to you by saying things which can sway the crowd. Powerful orators, not people who don't speak well, but people who are able to speak well in public are able to make the public believe in what you are saying, believe what you say. And that's what Brutus manages to do, that so much so that the public believes that he should be the next Julius Caesar, even though he has committed a criminal act of killing someone, killing Julius Caesar. Okay, what happens next? And then Mark Antony speaks next. Now, Mark Antony, the condition was that he will not speak anything about what happened. So he kind of, in a very roundabout way, sways the crowd, manipulates the crowd. He says he appeals to the emotions of the people. He appeals to the emotions of the people, and this is by far one of the best speeches, not one of the best, the best speech written by Shakespeare. It starts by saying, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Lend me your ears means listen to me. And this kind of phrase is used in many of the political writings even today. Even in today's day and age, in the 21st century, this is used. And he reminds the crowd of Caesar's goodness and generosity, about which he will tell them later. And then he shows that this is Mark Antony and this is Caesar's body. he shows them the wounds on Caesar's body. And that is essentially to emotionally manipulate the crowd, to make them feel emotional, to make them feel sentimental. Oh God, this is the brutal manner in which Julius Caesar was killed with multiple stab wounds on the body. No one deserves such a death. So that's what Antony is trying to emotionally manipulate the crowd to say that, see, you are saying Brutus should be the next Caesar, and this is what happened. Though he doesn't name them, but he is trying to kind of make them feel for Caesar that no man should deserve such a death. So the crowd gets restless. And Antony then reveals that every Roman will receive 75 drachmas, which is a silver coin in Greece, upon Caesar's death as per his will. The crowd turns chaotic. It turns very chaotic. Brutus and Cassius have an argument. Subsequent to this scene, they two have an argument. Why? Because Brutus is feeling emotionally low because his wife has committed suicide, has died by suicide, Portia. And when Brutus sleeps, Caesar's ghost meets him, right? And the ghost is quite a favorite trope of Shakespeare in many of his plays, like Macbeth, which you will study in class 11 and 12. It's there, right? So it conveys a mentally disturbed state of mind. And that's what Brutus is going through. He has been part of this conspiracy to kill Julius Caesar, and now he feels guilty about it. So that's a reflection. We will discuss that when we come to that. The battle begins. Now Cassius and Brutus know that they are going to be defeated, but they do not want to be paraded through the streets of Rome chained, right? So they need to find the best way out of this. And what can be the best way out of this? Or perhaps the only way out of this? Killing themselves. And that's precisely what happens. Cassius hears wrongly that his friend Titinius had been captured by the other side. So he asks his servant to kill him. Titinius has not been captured. He comes back and then he sees Cassius' body. He kills himself. And finally, Brutus knows that his side has lost. So he kills himself as well. And Antony praises Brutus as a brave man because Brutus is not entirely black like Cassius. But he's not a white also. Black and white as in good and bad, right? He's somewhere in between. There are shades of gray. He has committed an evil act, but he's also guilty about it. His mind is in complete turmoil as a result, right? So Brutus also, so you see the way, the big message from Julius Caesar is that what happens in this life, you need to pay for it in the same life itself. All both the characters, Brutus and Cassius, Titinius of course was a friend, they all kill themselves because they don't have any other option. Otherwise, in any case, they will get killed by the enemy, right? So that's the end that they meet. So what are the themes out here? There's a theme of friendship, Mark Antony and Julius Caesar, Brutus and Julius Caesar, right? The theme of anti-friendship in that sense, of friendship not being, maintained. There is a theme of revenge. There's a theme of political conspiracy, of palace intrigue, palace conspiracy and palace intrigue. There is a theme of prediction and superstitions, you may call it, right? There is a theme of, witchcraft or, thinking about ghosts or dreams in that sense. So all these kind of different themes have been mixed in Julius Caesar, about which we will study and explain in great detail in our lessons here on the SWS app. So I hope the setting has been done. Okay, pehla over bol kar chuka hu. I bowled the first over. I hope I managed to interest you in the story of Julius Caesar. As I always say, if you enjoy it, if you have a mental block, array, I don't like Shakespeare, then it becomes more difficult to enjoy and understand. But if you decide that I am going to enjoy William Shakespeare, you will enjoy, and I'm here to do that precisely for you. All the best to you. Thank you very much. See you now in Act 1, Scene 1 explanation. Bye-bye.